you for having me. I think it's quite instructive and timely, I should say. Though we expect such intervention before now, let's follow the 5-year conditionalities that they must use to review minimum wage. If you ask me, Nigeria is in dear need of a change in the revenue that most workers receive. You agree with me that what we have currently, 30,000 minimum wage cannot even cannot even sustain a week family, because if you look at a family of 4, definitely such cannot be okay for family. But going forward, I just want them to make sure that they really come up with this uh, group, our stakeholders, because stakeholders are very, very key. So federal government, state government, private sector, because it's one thing for the national government to think that it's good, let's improve, increase it. Will the subnational be able to do that? What will affect the state, the private sector as well? So those are the things that we need to look together. But it's quite timely and it is expected. And like the Vice President said, it has to be achieved before March, that the period will expire. So it's a good one. So we hope it won't be like other committees that will not come up with a result as expected.
Well, looking at the current economic reality right now, I just talk about how cash-strapped the federal and state governments are at the moment. They have been for quite some time. But looking at the fact that the budget that has been signed by the president and most of the state governors that have already had their 2024 budget already signed without any input from what the new minimum wage is likely going to be, what kind of shock are we likely going to see, especially if you consider that the current minimum wage that we do have is already not being implemented in more than half of the states across the country?
Well, that's the major challenge we have, and I would say no thanks to most of our governors, because even if you look at it, even 30,000 they cannot. The answer is always they don't have that capacity. So now that we want to do this new minimum wage, that they've not even achieved the 30,000, what would I expect? And I must tell you that expecting anything less than 150,000 would not be realistic on the citizen or public servant level. But the fact just remains that it is federal government. Federal government needs to do what they need to do. However, it's quite also shocking that it's not captured in the budget. So where would they get the money from? From what we can say is that government has been able to maybe rake in some money through a removal of fresh subsidy. Maybe that would have, they'll find a way of doing that. But what will private sector do? And I assure you, most state governor will still not want to comply. And if you look at one of them that just spoke in this program now, he has also exercised that fear in what he was saying, that the subnational may not be able to really cater to that. And if you even look at it holistically, if you add the federal government staff to state government, I don't think they are still up to 10 million. And we have about over 90 million people that are actively working. So what will the 80 million get their own increment? That's the question that begs for answer. But for government, I think government need to, as much as possible, adhere to whatever, because the agreement also have governors therein. So they should come out with something that is sustainable.
Let's just suppose the idea behind minimum wage and what many say is what Nigeria needs to be pushing for at this moment, a living wage. What is the distinction between the two?
Well, when you say minimum wage and living wage, the economy is the one, from the current economy that we have now, we cannot manage minimum wage now. We need what is called living wage. And when you're looking at living wage, look at the family of 5. How much we sustain this family of 5? Factoring in transportation, school fee, feeding, and all the needs, not even wants this time, all the needs. You agree with me that it is expected for us to have a living wage that is sustainable, that can be a true take-home, not minimum wage. Minimum wage could be what no one can even take. It cannot even sustain people for a week, let alone a month. So we need a living wage, as rightly mentioned.
Right. So as an economist, what is realistically achievable, going by the hopes and aspirations of not just the committee, but Nigerians who are waiting in the wings for what will be the outcome of their recommendations?
Right. I have a look at the all the stakeholders, that the federal government, the state government, the private sector, even the pensioners. These are what we should look at. I think we'll be looking at around 150,000 to 200,000. That could be a living wage. Now we now have to come back to that language now. It's now be the minimum that a public servant can get, 150 to 200,000. Because if you look at the economy, a family of five will find it difficult to even sustain themselves for 30 days with 150,000, and coupled with the challenges. And I must also tell you that even most civil servants are now rationing the way